For 20 years, I gave everything to that company. Blood, sweat, weekends, birthdays missed, vacations postponed. I believed in loyalty. I believed that if you worked hard, stayed honest, and showed up when it mattered, you'd be rewarded, or at least respected. I was wrong. It happened on a Wednesday. The same dull beige walls I walked past every morning suddenly felt different as I made my way to my office. People I had mentored avoided my eyes. Whispers floated behind me like dark smoke. I tried to brush it off, maybe just another round of layoffs. Times were tough, right? But I never thought they'd touch me. I was the guy who covered double shifts, who trained the CEO's nephew, who stood by the company through 2 mergers. I was safe. I thought I was safe. Around noon, I was called into HR. I still remember the fluorescent buzz of the lights overhead, the faint coffee stain on the carpet by the door. They didn't even try to soften the blow. Effective immediately, we're terminating your employment. Your severance will be minimal given recent restructuring. It felt like a punch to the gut. I barely registered the canned legal explanations. My mind kept racing. Why? How? When I stumbled out of the building, cardboard box in hand, a few fake sympathetic smiles followed me to the parking lot. My hands shook so badly I could hardly fit the key into the ignition. I didn't drive straight home. I just sat there, staring at the windshield as if somehow it would make sense if I waited long enough. When I finally got home, my wife, Cassandra, was already waiting for me. She stood by the kitchen island, glass of wine in hand, smiling like we had just won the lottery. I stammered out the news, voice cracking with disbelief, expecting her to drop her glass, to rage with me, to demand we fight back. Instead, she set her glass down gently, crossed her arms and said, "Well, it's about time." I thought I misheard. I asked her what she meant. Cassandra just laughed, this cold, hollow laugh that sounded nothing like the woman I married 23 years ago. "You've been dead weight for years, Mike. Always so loyal to that stupid job. Always putting them first, never realizing what you were missing at home. So I helped them speed things along." The floor might as well have disappeared beneath me. I blinked at her, words failing. Helped them. What the hell was she talking about? Piece by piece, she explained it like she was describing the plot of a soap opera she loved. How she had been befriending one of the senior VPs during company events. How she fed him stories about how checked out I had become. How I was resistant to change. How I was dragging the department down. She even provided helpful suggestions about who could replace me. Conveniently, people she knew through her side business connections. I listened, numb, as she confessed like it was nothing. How she felt trapped by my steady, boring life. How she deserved more. How she had dreams she couldn't chase because I was too comfortable in my mediocre existence. Cassandra, the woman who once cried at our tiny wedding because she loved me so much, had orchestrated my downfall, and she was proud of it. "You'll bounce back," she said, almost dismissively, as she sipped her wine. "Maybe now you'll finally wake up." I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. 20 years at the company, 23 years with her, all erased in a single afternoon, and standing there in our kitchen, staring at the stranger I once called my wife, I realized something terrifying. I didn't just lose my job that day. I had lost everything, or at least that's what I thought, until something deep inside me, something dormant for years, began to stir. After Cassandra served me the papers with that cruel, gloating smirk, I realized my biggest mistake hadn't been trusting her. It had been trusting that loyalty meant anything to people like her. She didn't just betray me by working with my company to push me out. She betrayed everything we had built together. 20 years of memories, sacrifices, and dreams, reduced to a cold stack of legal documents and a kiss blown mockingly over her shoulder as she walked away. But she had miscalculated something critical. The man she betrayed wasn't the same man she thought she had beaten. The night after I packed my bags and left the house, I sat alone in a cheap hotel room. The carpet smelled like mildew, the bed sagged, and the walls were thin enough to hear the couple next door arguing about parking tickets. I stared at the ceiling for hours, letting the betrayal boil through my veins until something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to let this define me. I wasn't going to be the victim of Cassandra's game. No, I was going to end it. My way. The first thing I did was call my lawyer, Thomas, an old college friend who had once joked that I'd never need him unless my life turned into a soap opera. He didn't laugh when I told him everything. Instead, he quietly asked, "How deep do you want to cut, Matt?" "All the way," I said. We spent days assembling the strategy. Cassandra had worked with my company's board behind my back, feeding them confidential information to make me look incompetent, all in exchange for a promise that they would hire her new lover, a slimy, second-rate VP, into my spot once they forced me out. What Cassandra didn't know was that months earlier, suspicious of internal sabotage, I had begun quietly documenting everything. Emails, recorded conversations, financial discrepancies. When the time came, we unleashed everything. Thomas filed a lawsuit against my former company for wrongful termination, presenting a mountain of evidence they never saw coming. The board panicked, knowing that if the case went public, it would destroy not just their reputation, but their personal assets. Within 2 weeks, they offered a massive, silent settlement, millions more than they would have ever paid me if they had just let me retire quietly. It wasn't about revenge, it was about reclaiming what I had earned. Cassandra thought she had won when I left with nothing but a duffel bag. She didn't know I was walking straight into something bigger. Meanwhile, Cassandra's new boyfriend, the one she left me for, wasn't exactly the knight in shining armor she imagined. Without my steady income, the lifestyle she flaunted on social media quickly became unsustainable. She downgraded apartments once, then twice, clinging to the illusion that she was still winning. She kept posting photos, fake smiles, cheap wine, rented clothes, desperate to convince everyone, including herself, that she hadn't made the biggest mistake of her life. The final twist came when Thomas discovered that Cassandra had inadvertently committed financial fraud during our marriage. She had siphoned money from one of our shared accounts into a private offshore account, money that legally should have been part of the marital assets. That was the smoking gun we needed. In court, her lawyer tried to bluff and bluster, but the evidence was overwhelming. Not only did she lose any claim to my newly secured fortune, but she was ordered to pay restitution. The look on her face when the judge read the decision is a moment that will stay with me forever. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just stood up, nodded respectfully to the judge, and walked out without a word, while Cassandra sat there, stunned, like a gambler who just realized the house always wins. Months later, I bought a beautiful piece of land in the mountains. I built a modest but stunning cabin with my own 2 hands. Every board and nail a silent tribute to the strength Cassandra thought she had destroyed. I started writing, something I had always loved but never had time for, and my first book became a surprise bestseller, chronicling resilience after betrayal. I traveled, met people who didn't judge me by the scars on my past, and for the first time in decades, I felt free. As for Cassandra, word eventually trickled back to me. Her boyfriend left her when the money dried up. She tried to sue him for emotional damages. It got laughed out of court. Last I heard, she was working 2 jobs to scrape by, still spinning the story that none of it was her fault. She built her kingdom on lies and betrayal. And when it crumbled, there was no one left to catch her. Funny thing is, I don't even hate her anymore. I pity her. Because while she spent all her energy trying to destroy me, I spent mine building a new life she'll never be part of. She planned my downfall with a smile, and without lifting a finger in anger, I turned that downfall into my greatest rise. I wasn't about to let this be the end of my story.